This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.
A very good afternoon and welcome to this Thursday edition of the Blood Red podcast, brought to you from the Liverpool Echo offices in the heart of the city centre. We're only 2 weeks away from Christmas, but LFC are already serving up their own blockbusters off the pitch. I'm joined by our LFC correspondent, Paul Gorst, to talk about the performance against Inter and some of the big stories around it. Paul, how are you doing today?
Good, yes. Yeah, seems to have picked up a little bit of a cold, but then I realised that you're struggling as well, and so is our producer Ian. So this is going to be a pod where we're just soldiering on, I think.
Yeah, what are your best remedies for a cold, Paul?
Probably a few pints at the Christmas do tonight.
There was me about to suggest strepsils and perhaps a lemsip.
Yeah, honey and lemsip or something.
Or a have you ever had a Scotch toddy?
Yeah.
With that. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have one tonight. It is the as you say, it is the Echo.
An Irish coffee.
An Irish coffee. Yeah. It's all coming on. I like these alternative remedies. If you can't get an appointment at the doctor's, just send a message to Paul Gorst and he'll sort you out with something else.
Come bear and gifts, yeah.
Well, hopefully the audio isn't too bad for our producer with our sort of coughs and colds, Paul. But we'll crack on regardless. And we're better to start with a positive result for Liverpool on the road in the creaking San Siro, which my son blagged me into taking him to last season because it was being knocked down, apparently. It has been knocked down, but it's one of the most drawn-out abolishments of a stadium I've ever known. But nevertheless, Liverpool made the trip on Tuesday on the back of a lot of drama from Elland Road, but came away with an excellent 1-0 win. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it was back to basics, wasn't it? And it's not really a game plan you see Liverpool execute very often. And normally, if they did that more often, there would be complaints of it being a bit tedious and a bit, mundane. But that was exactly what Liverpool needed against Inter, who hadn't lost a Champions League game at home for 3 years. So it shouldn't be underestimated the size of that result on Tuesday night. I thought Joe Gomez again at right back just offers Canate so much more protection, doesn't he? Canate's going through a little bit of a tough period. He's not been at it as much as he would have liked this season, but when Gomez plays next to him now, that's back-to-back clean sheets, isn't it? Off the back of the West Ham game and then obviously Tuesday night. So yeah, lots of positives. Ekitike and Isak starting together for just the second time. Still a long way to go for their partnership, you suspect. But yeah, Liverpool get a penalty that wasn't really a penalty, but they'll take that bit of luck because when a goal is being ruled out after a 5-minute check, you're into the realms of the farcical, aren't you? So I thought Liverpool deserved that bit of luck that came their way late on. And yeah, a lot to be positive about. The midfield diamond, sure, we'll talk about it later on, but, Arne Slot had to find the solution to Mo Salah, obviously. Chiesa was ill, Gakpo was injured, and he did that. It wasn't free-flowing. Sometimes it wasn't pretty on the eye, but it's a big result and a result that steers them in the right direction for Champions League qualification now.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether that team he selected is what he would have selected if he'd had all the players available. Obviously Chiesa injured as well, Gakpo out. We don't know how that things would have lined up if that was the case, but it did give him, and with Salah out as well, it did give him an opportunity to try something a little bit different. And what struck me really was how compact the team looked, particularly in the first half. Look, it wasn't the greatest game, was it? Let's be honest. Often teams against games against Italian teams can be a little bit cagey and whatnot. Even their own league is like that. But I felt a sort of renewed sense of comfort from what looked like just a tighter, more compact Liverpool team that didn't look like it was going to give a goal away.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the recent results, they get beat 3-0 at Man City, they concede 4 against PSV and then 3 against Forest, and that's 10 goals in 3 games. So Arne Slot's had to address that in some way. And perhaps he's gone a bit too the other way with it in terms of Liverpool not looking massively potent. And it sounds a bit strange to say that, given that they scored 3 goals at Leeds United, but they weren't looking like scoring before that mistake from, I can't even remember who it was now, on Saturday at Elland Road. But Ekitike makes the most of it. The third goal was lovely. The third goal was one of the best moves of Liverpool's season. You know, the dummy from McAllister, the pass from Gravenberch, and the finish from Szoboszlai. But it's a bit of a needle in a haystack at the moment for our Liverpool attacking. They're not really fluid in the final third. The patterns aren't there. You know, you're not quite sure what exactly the plan is with Isak, with Salah. You know, all of this big money investment in the summer. You know, Wirtz is in and out. Sometimes he's through the middle. Sometimes he's off the left. So Arne Slot has been trying to find solutions, and you know, it was good in a way that they just looked more secure, like you say. You know, Inter never really looked like scoring, did they? They had that header at the end of the first half through Lautaro Martinez, gets across Van Dijk. It's a good save from Alisson. But other than that, Liverpool were quite comfortable, really. And, you know, Conor Bradley has Liverpool's best chance to get a little bit of a nonsense penalty for me. But, like I say, you take those little bits of luck to come your way. And, yeah, it was a big result. But they've got to build on it now against Brighton, because those two draws against Leeds and Sunderland might as well have been defeats, really. Draws are no good to Liverpool. They're very rarely positive when you draw, especially against teams who've only recently been promoted. So they need to get back to winning ways on Saturday, and then you can start to maybe look and think, are Liverpool just emerging away from a difficult period, given that it will be, what will that be, 5 games unbeaten?
Yeah, now there is a temptation to, I don't want to say get carried away, but you know, when you've beaten Inter Milan away, when the manager really needed a result, you think, oh, have Liverpool turned the corner here? But that acid test is obviously, can you convert that sort of result into a Premier League result? Because it's the Premier League teams that appear to have found Liverpool out this season, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, you look at the win against Real Madrid. You know, with that coming on so soon after the Aston Villa game, everyone was thinking Liverpool were over the worst of it, and then they maybe ran into Man City at a unfortunate time. Then they got the international break. Then that resumes, and then they get well beaten by Forest. So, this is like you say, it's the acid test to prove that they have made a significant step forward and away from what has been a pretty harrowing 2.5 months, really, hasn't it? So, yeah, but we'll only have a bit more evidence for that on Saturday evening. And, I mean, if you fancy Liverpool to qualify now, they've got Qarabag at home, which, with respect to Qarabag, you feel like that's a good one to have. Final fixture of the group stage. It's got to go to Marseille, which could be a difficult night, but if they get 4 points from those 2 games, that might be enough, mightn't it, just to squeeze into that top 8 and move on, and don't have to focus on the Champions League then until when? Is it March, maybe? February?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, I maintain this is a very weird season.
Yeah.
So, Liverpool gets spanked by PSV Eindhoven at home, but are, finished this week 9th. So they're basically level pegging with Inter Milan, who was 6th in the Champions League. So anyone in that top 8 qualifies automatically. So, as you say, 4 points could well be enough to get that over the line. And then if you look at the Premier League, currently 10th in the table, but only 3 points off the top 4.
Yeah.
So things can change very quickly. Just going back to the Inter match and some of the players involved in it. So neither Wirtz or Bradley started the match, but were quite key substitutions that were made sort of in the last third of the match and had a significant impact. I wonder how much of that is down to the time of the game they were introduced, or whether the fact that they were just good players who brought a different element.
Yeah, both really. I mean, we've given Arne Slot a lot of stick for his substitutions this season, haven't we? It was sort of the inverse of last season, when every change he made tended to work. This season it's been the opposite. He's been putting the team structure up against the wall with some of the defenders for attacker substitutions that we've seen most weeks, and it hasn't worked. You look at the defeats that have come late in games, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Manchester United. Those have come from Liverpool not really having a structure, because they've been chasing the late winner, when a draw, certainly for Palace and Chelsea away, would have been perfectly acceptable results, really. But give him credit where it's due on this one. He introduced Wirtz and Bradley. Bradley offered a lot more thrust down that right. We know what Joe Gomez is going to give you, defence first, and that's fine when you're looking to go back to basics and keep it tight. But Bradley comes on, and within 2 minutes he has Liverpool's best chance, doesn't he, inside the area, shooting at the goalkeeper. Possibly could have went across Jan Sommer, and that might have gone in, and you're talking about what a substitution that is. And I thought Wirtz was was good. You know, he comes on for Isak, and he just finds pockets of space all the time, doesn't he? Every time a teammate's on the ball, he's the one who's looking over his shoulder, looking for areas that he can pick up the ball and do some damage. And I thought both were good. So, yeah, credit to Slot there on those two changes. And I wouldn't say they changed the game, but certainly gave Liverpool just enough impetus. Wertz wins the penalty, doesn't he? To go on and get the winner in that game.
He did something for the penalty, yeah.
Bought
it might be what I would suggest.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was shouting at Ian Doyle was there for us, wasn't he, in Italy? So I was shouting at the telly, get up. That's never a penalty, and the referee didn't even give it a glance. And then goes and checks the monitor, and then Liverpool get a penalty. And if that goes against you, you're spitting feathers, aren't you? But Liverpool have had some terrible luck with those. You look at the one in Galatasaray with Osimhen catches a little flailing arm from Szoboszlai, doesn't he? Very slight penalty. They win 1-0. And the penalty against Brentford, a couple of weeks back. That wasn't a penalty for me either. And, they get one there. So maybe Liverpool would do a little bit of luck on that front.
What do you make of this sort of re-refereeing of games, which...
Oh, you're getting into this one?
Yeah. I want to only very briefly. I want to go down this little rabbit hole because obviously Konate's goal gets ruled out for a handball, which looks like it could be a handball, but I can't actually ever see the ball actually hit his hand, Ekitike's hand rather. No angle I've seen yet has actually conclusively proven to me that he actually handled the ball, which probably explains why they took over 5 minutes.
Well, that's a nonsense, isn't it? If you take him 5 minutes to make a decision, you've got to just go with the on-field one. I mean, I don't want to get into VAR because it feels like it is the great bane of Liverpool. I was going to say Liverpool football supporters' lives. But if you take him 5 minutes to make a decision, that's not right. You have to go with what has been given on the pitch. But saying that, I don't think it was a penalty either. So going over to the monitor to check it and then deciding that is a penalty, I don't know what the rules are anymore, to be perfectly honest.
Well, either way, it's worked in Liverpool's favour on this occasion overall. Yeah. So I think we can agree that VAR is rubbish. Slightly ruins football, but thanks very much for the dodgy pen.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that. And can I just add for our older viewers as well, that is a little bit of justice for the very dodgy refereeing performance offered to Liverpool by a referee in Inter Milan v Liverpool.
I knew you were going to mention this game. What, 65?
1965, which, just to be clear, viewers, I was not alive for.
I was going to say, you're in the boys' pen, weren't you?
Not even. I was in... I nearly said something else then, but I was in my dad's something or other. But I've been told many times the stories about Liverpool being robbed of reaching the European Cup final because of let's say suspect refereeing in the San Siro against Inter Milan. So we'll have that one back.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Only took 60 years.
Only took 60 years. Yeah. Most of the people who were at it probably aren't even here now. So sorry about that. Only 5 days have passed, can you believe it, since Mohamed Salah's bombshell interview, which you were in the epicenter of, Gorsty. It feels a lot longer than 5 days, I bet.
It does. I mean, it was incredible, really. I mean, I said this on a quick little pod we did with Theo Squires on Monday, but he came over, and I think because it was an away game, he didn't necessarily see the usual lot of reporters who might be at Anfield. But he did recognise me, and I said, have you got 2 minutes, as I tend to do? And he said, I'm just going for a shower. Now, I thought he was being sarcastic because he hadn't played in the game, so it was like, well, why would you need a shower if you haven't kicked the ball? I thought it was like a tongue-in-cheek thing.
I'd never even thought of that.
Yeah. So, but me and my colleagues who was there, we decided to hold our nerve, so we didn't ask Alex Isak. He walked past Andy Robertson. Joe Gomez was there as well. We didn't ask any of them, and lo and behold, Mo comes back 10 or 15 minutes later in a different training kit. So I think he had been in the showers, and he had something certainly to get off his chest. And it was genuinely was extraordinary when he starts talking about being thrown under the bus and no relationship with Arne Slot, and he feels that there's some people at the club who want him out, and promises are being broken. It was gobsmacking. 7.5 minutes that steered the ship towards the iceberg.
There's no doubt that Arne Slot is under pressure in his role as manager of Liverpool Football Club. The results have not met expectation. And then one of his key players, one of his talisman, drops this bombshell
Yeah.
on Saturday. And my initial reaction is he appears to have lost the dressing room. It doesn't look like he's got respect of his players, because one of his key players has come out after being left out the side for 3 matches, but a week effectively, has come out and basically, in my view, not shown the manager respect. So my initial impulse when this all unfolded was that if the manager hasn't got the respect of the players, he's lost the dressing room. He's going to be gone by Christmas because it is a results business at the end of the day. Unless the results determine that, he could be a dead man walking. But what is key for that now to me is that since then they've played Inter Milan, and what would the reaction be like against the Inter Milan? Would it continue along the same line of players, not really looking like they're pulling up any trees, unable to see matches out, and basically not working as hard as Liverpool supporters would expect? But it was the complete opposite.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a performance of a team of players who aren't fully behind the manager anymore. And I think that's what's been disappointing about Salah's outburst. From a journalist perspective, it's great, and what a story.
It's gold, isn't it?
And stuff, but I think from Liverpool's perspective, and certainly Slot's, he would have been looking at his leaders to close ranks, to get heads down, chins up, and this is how we work our way through a difficult period. But then one of the longest serving players, so revered in football and inside the dressing room, he's talking about his own situation only, isn't he? It's all me first, why am I playing? And he's not the only one who's been underperforming. I totally get his point on that one. But,
well, he's some of his points are not without merit. That's clear. But it's a case of whether that is actually stuff that should be in the public domain.
Yeah,
and I would suggest quite strongly no.
Yeah, I mean, he's waited, hasn't he? I think Jamie Carragher called it maximum damage on Monday Night Football, and had Tanaka not scored late on and Liverpool win 3-2, does he just kick that down the road to Brighton, or does he just keep his counsel and we're none the wiser about this story that's developing behind the scenes? It has to be more. There has to be more to it than just being left out for 3 games. It was 3 games. It was 6 days. West Ham was on the Sunday, Sunderland Wednesday, which he plays 45 minutes in, and then Leeds on the Saturday night. So within 6 days, it's gone nuclear. And there was that element, wasn't there, when Liverpool beat Eintracht Frankfurt, when Salah's on the bench, comes off, Liverpool win 5-1, and then he changes his social media profile pictures and all that sort of stuff. And in isolation, it was just something that you could just bat away, but it looks like it was the start of a little bit of a calculated plan to make it known that he's not happy sitting on the bench. And at a time Liverpool were in a bit of a difficult period there, the end of October, they still are really, but that playing silly beggars should have been avoided. When you're trying to introduce new players into the team. It's the first time Isaac and Ekitike had started. Florian Wirtz could have had a tap in if you put it across the face of goal for him late on. So it all starts to look like a picture is building there, and I hope it gets resolved. It'd be heartbreaking if this is the end of Mo Salah's Liverpool career. But saying that, we're recording this on Thursday. Arne Slot is going to speak on Friday morning. I don't think Salah will be involved against Brighton.
Yeah, that's my view as well. And the main reason for that is, unless anything has happened in between tomorrow and since the Inter match, in his post-match interviews on the TV, there was nothing I read into that suggested that Arne Slot and Mohamed Salah were close to a reconciliation.
Yeah, 100%. And it was similar with Andy Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, Curtis Jones, Dominic Szoboszlai. They all got asked about it after the game, and none of them were sort of hinting that a resolution is anywhere near. So, I think the AFCON might have come at a good time for Liverpool. I think there's the opportunity to just get through Saturday with Salah not involved, so it doesn't become a bit of a sideshow where he's, warming up on the pitch and warming up on the sideline and fans are singing his name and all that sort of stuff, because we've seen what can happen when the narrative gets funneled into a singular player at Anfield. We've seen it in May when Liverpool played Arsenal. Trent came off the bench and then the atmosphere changes, the mood changes, and lo and behold, Liverpool go from 2-0 up to 2-2. They're not really in a position where they can sort of carry that burden at the moment. So I don't think he'll play. I think he'll go to AFCON, and it just buys Liverpool a bit of time. And certainly Slot, where the questions aren't about Salah, it's about the players who are there. He has to find the solution because Salah's not there, and then hopefully, touching the wood, on the opposite side of AFCON, whenever Egypt bow out of that, he can come back and there's some positive discussions between the pair.
In his interview, he said that he messaged his family and said, "Come to the Brighton game." Sort of suggesting, hinting that it could be his last game. But unless he made that call in the showers, he had to have done that before the Leeds match. Yeah. So, regardless of whether he'd have played 90 minutes in that match or none, it would appear he'd already made that call, and that kind of suggests to me, and I'm not troublemaker here, but I am speculating, is that does it go a little bit deeper than being left out of the side for 3 matches?
Yeah, that's what I mean about being on the bench for the Frankfurt game and the little bit of a storm in the teacup that followed, and I don't think that became as big a story as it might have been because Liverpool win comfortably. It's one of their best performances of the season, certainly at the time, best results, and they move on. But yeah, perhaps this has been brewing behind the scenes for some time. He suggested that neither promises are being broken, whatever they were. I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be, on a promise to start every single week, regardless of your performances. So yeah, let's wait and see. If Mr. and Mrs. Salah are in attendance at Anfield on Saturday, let's see what happens. Hopefully the 3-2 Liverpool win, and then Mo can go to Morocco and see what he, tears up trees with Egypt. I hope he does. It'd be great if he goes and has a great AFCON and comes back with a spring in his step and maybe a chat with the manager and move on. But at the moment, that feels a long way away.
That's if he does have a good AFCON, that's only going to add to another dimension to this saga, which is basically guaranteed now to run through to middle of January minimum, I think. So you're going to have plenty to write about, and we're going to have plenty to talk about, even when he's out of the side.
Yeah.
But when he is out the side, then not only are you going to be talking about how Salah's doing, but also what Liverpool look like without him. Life comes at you fast. Gorst, you're not as young as you used to be, I'm afraid to tell you, which is a bit rich coming from me. But the point I'm leading up to is that there are generations of Liverpool fans who do not know a side without Mohamed Salah.
Yeah, that's true.
And that this is, it's a big deal anyway, but I suspect that it's an even bigger deal for those supporters because he will be a bit like a safety net.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a 9th season at Liverpool now, isn't it? So, like you say, there will be supporters who are teenagers now, who were children when Salah signed, and he's the 3rd highest goal scorer of all time, by the way. Liverpool have had 133 years of history. That's, some going that. Only Roger Hunt and Ian Rush have scored more. And it'd just be such a heartbreaking end to his Liverpool career if this was it. He just sort of shuffles away. And I think there are 2 ways to leave Liverpool in the modern guise. There's the picture book elements that Jurgen Klopp had, where we all knew it was coming for weeks and months, and the club basically put on all the bells and whistles to send them off in the most sort of heroic fashion, and everyone remembers what they did for the club. Or there's the sort of Jordan Henderson way, isn't it, where you rush it out the back door during the transfer window and not a lot gets made about it. So I hope for Salah it is the latter. I hope he can go out, on the back of a superb season, at the end of his 2-year contract or whatever it may be, because it'd just be so sad, wouldn't it, if he has played his last game already?
Yeah, and all good things come to an end. And that will be the case for Salah at some point, probably sooner rather than later, whether it's seen out his contract or before then. I just couldn't imagine him getting another one after that. But we can't even look that far ahead, can we?
We can't even look to the end of the week, never mind the end of the year or the end of the season. So, yeah, he's 33. He's on the biggest contract that's ever been handed out at Liverpool. He's not been anywhere near the levels that he would like to be at. And normally when those elements combine, you've got someone as hard-nosed as Michael Edwards in a chief position as the CEO of football, essentially runs Liverpool FC day to day. He might be one of the very first to say, well, can we move him on and get more wriggle room on the wage bill, more transfer fees to secure a long-term replacement, all that sort of stuff. But that is the sort of cold, hard-nosed business element of it. Like I say, it'd be such a shame if we have seen the last of Salah as a Liverpool player, and I still think for all the frustration at the season that he's having, he's still got a lot to give.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But the situation is unprecedented, really. I think this would have sounded wild at the start of the season, and you may still think it's a little bit wild now. But do you think it's entirely plausible that by the end of January, neither Mohamed Salah or Arne Slot could be at Liverpool?
Yeah, yeah, it's possible. I think Liverpool are in a really difficult period. Tuesday night was a big result, but I think it's only the fourth or fifth win in about 15 games. So it's a really tough period that they're not yet out of, and it'll take some time before you can start to say the worst, that they are over the worst. So that is a possibility. I think as long as the Champions League places are still in play for Liverpool, I think Slot will be allowed to to carry on and try and get Liverpool back in there. But that patience won't be limitless, will it? If they keep drawing games that they should win, Sunderland, Leeds, if they keep losing in the manner that they did to PSV or Nottingham Forest, then the questions will go on. And I just want to see Liverpool with a bit of a plan in the final third. I've said this loads of times. They signed Isak, they signed Wirtz, Salah was there, Ekitike's come in. They clearly must have had a grand plan for all these players of fitting them in and turning them into a supremely well-drilled attacking force. But they're stuttering through every game, aren't they? Tuesday night you can make a little bit of a caveat that that's what they needed to do in a tough place like the San Siro, but against Sunderland, they could still be playing now, and they didn't look like they were going to score, did they? And Leeds, they've scored 3, but his first one was given to them. I look at the victory against Aston Villa, 2 big mistakes from Aston Villa there. To beat Real Madrid, it's a set piece. Just want to see a bit more semblance of attacking order, really, and for all the gifted players that they've got, we're just not seeing that.
Yeah, a comfortable win would be quite nice, wouldn't it? I mean, we were saying this at the start of the season before they started losing. We just go and comfortably win a football match, but we're still yet to see that. And I suspect, as we look forward to the visit of Brighton and Hove Albion on Saturday, that it's not going to be any more comfortable. Brighton currently 8th in the table, on the same points as Liverpool, with a reasonably similar record in terms of goals scored, goals against. Haven't won the last 2, but have still got 3 wins out of the last 6, which is better than Liverpool, and a reasonably good record against Liverpool at Anfield as well. So it's got all the ingredients of another banana skin.
It has, yeah. I mean, Brighton always play well against Liverpool. To be fair to them, even when Liverpool won the league in 2019-20, I think they only win by, I think Van Dijk scores 2, does he? A couple of set piece goals. So they've always performed well. I remember the 3-3 draw there. Possibly, I think Brighton won during that horrendous run where Liverpool lose 6 in a row at home with no fans. So they've got good pedigree at Anfield, to be fair. So it's going to be tough. And yeah, like I say, we were talking, weren't we, about the other side of the international break offering a good chance for Liverpool just to play some fixtures that looked quite straightforward on paper after a tough opening few months in the season. But since then, they've been well beaten by Forest. Okay, they beat West Ham, they've drawn with Leeds, and they've drawn with Sunderland. So from those 4 games where you might have expected 10 to 12 points, they've got, 5? So it's they've got to start turning some of these draws and losses into wins.
Yeah, it's it's essentially, it's not enough points, is it? It's enough to keep them in that sort of chasing pack.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of teams in it, but it's certainly not the former champions, and that's one of the reasons I think Slot must find his position under threat.
Yeah, I mean it's not the former champions, is it? But I think anyone with a sort of realistic head on the shoulders would have accepted that sailed a long time ago, which is always difficult to accept when you're the champions. But they've the ambitions for the season have been redrawn. It is now a place in the Champions League for Liverpool that would represent not necessarily success, but an acceptance that, okay, that was a tough season, but we go again within the Champions League. The money that comes from that, you can look to take it from there. But yeah, at the moment, it's not necessarily the fact that they're so far away from the top 4 or 5 places, because they're not. It's more just the congestion in the league. So, the more points that are frittered away, the more opportunities for a lot of other teams who, quite a few are having really good seasons, aren't they? So, yeah, I think Saturday is huge, really. And, this Salah sideshow might threaten to undermine it, but Liverpool have got to win.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems is that every game looks like a difficult game now, doesn't it? You normally, especially if you take your home matches, we've got Brighton at home, or we've got Sunderland at home, we've got Nottingham Forest at home. Yeah. You're going there expecting to come away with 3 points, even if it's drawn out over the 90 minutes to get the result, and that's not been the case this season. So with that in mind, Liverpool secure a great win against Inter Milan in Italy in a compact shape, with a conservative setup that they've basically nicked a win on. How should they set up against Brighton at home at Anfield? Yeah,
it's tough, isn't it? I don't want to see them play that game again. As much as we've spoken about it being a good foothold for them, something to build on. But if they did that against Brighton at the weekend and don't really look like they're threatening all that much, and it's a 0-0 or whatever, I think that will be viewed quite dimly. I think Liverpool now have to start putting the best foot forward on the back of what was a really important win for them, in not even necessarily in the Champions League campaign, just the context of the season, going away and securing a big victory on the road to a team who, let's not forget, were last season's Champions League finalists. So they have to build on it. And the good news is hopefully Federico Chiesa is back from his illness. Don't think there's going to be any Mo Salah, do we? But that'll at least help on the forward line front, because there was no one on the bench really, was there, other than Wirtz. But yeah, they've just got to start playing themselves into some semblance of form, really.
Cody Gakpo's out for a few games now, isn't he? I don't think we're going to see him for a short while. That probably opens the door a little bit to the idea of Ekitike and Isak playing together more regularly. I suspect, obviously, Ekitike probably be on that left-hand side the majority of the time. I think he can do a job there. What's your take on playing the two?
He played like a bit of a diamond, didn't he, on Tuesday night? And I think Wirtz at the sort of tip of that diamond is the ideal man to load the bullets for Isak and Ekitike. But you could see that it's a very, very early days in this partnership. It's only the second time they've started together. They'd only played 45 minutes together from the start previously, because Isak went off injured in Frankfurt with that groin injury. So, yeah, there was a period there in the second half, and I think maybe Jones or McAllister plays the pass, and both of them are running. Both of them make the same run. So then it goes back to Robertson, he crosses it in, and McAllister's the only one in the box. And it was a good ball, to be fair. If one or the other was in the box for it, they might have been able to make more of it. So it's about getting that understanding together. There was the one where Ekitike in the first half, he fires it at Sommer when a little clip to the back post might have give Isak a little tap in with the header. So they are building on it, but it'll take time. And it was interesting hearing Daniel Sturridge speak on Amazon, because obviously he played in the diamond as a front two with Luis Suarez, didn't he? And I think between them they scored close to 60 goals that season. So he was saying about how it does take time. Sometimes you have to split, go wide, midfield runners, i.e. Wirtz or whoever the number 10 is. But it'll take time. But the good news is, from Liverpool's perspective at the moment, they've only got one game a week, haven't they? So they've got time on the training pitch to work on it, which normally at this stage of the season, managers just don't get. So that is something to work on, regardless of what, with Salah going away now, I say forced into it because it's a £200 million strike force. He hasn't been forced into it. It's playing two very good strikers who 99 out of 100 managers would love to have. But they are now probably going to have to start most games, aren't they? Fitness permitting.
We've not really heard either of those players talk about the other player, really, in any interviews or anything. Certainly, I suppose it's probably been difficult in terms of talking about a partnership because they basically haven't had one.
Yeah.
But they're obviously two extremely high-profile signings who Liverpool paid an enormous amount of money for, and if there's a time now to get talking and to make friends and build trust in each other and the players behind you, this is it, isn't it? And I don't know, maybe with a dominating figure like Salah, slightly sidelined as he is at the moment, and obviously gone completely when he goes to AFCON, it may maybe give some of these new players, regardless of what they cost, the confidence to sort of make these positions or stamp their own, make these positions their own or stamp their own authority within the squad. Yeah,
I mean, in the long term, Liverpool have got to find a way through without Mo Salah. And in the short term, they've got to do it now, haven't they? So everyone knew it was coming. We knew that AFCON was hitting them down the tracks, regardless of what kind of season Salah was having. So Slot's had a long time to think of what he might do when Salah goes. And he spoke a bit about Frimpong, hasn't he? We're still waiting to see if there's any latest on him. But right now, it looks like Ekitike and Isak are going to have to develop a partnership. I hope Isak is okay on the back of a however long it was on Tuesday, was it 70 minutes or so. We know he hasn't played a lot of football and all that sort of stuff.
He still looks a bit rusty to me.
Yeah, no, he does. And how long do you give it before you start to be concerned by that? You'll always have the caveats of no pre-season, the fact that he had the groin injury for a month, but maybe you're entitled to expect a little bit more from a player who cost what he did. Just waiting for him to kick into gear, aren't you? And he hasn't done it yet. But at the moment, he's going to have to play, isn't he, with Ekitike, I'd imagine. So if nothing else, they're going to get a bit more time on the pitch to develop that partnership.
Probably starting on Saturday. So without further ado, let's sort of kick off with our sort of team predictions for Saturday. Alisson Becker in goal. I think we can take that as a given. What back four would you go with against Brighton?
Well, Bradley's injured, suspended, isn't he? So it's going to have to be Joe Gomez, really. He hasn't played successive games very often over the last year or two, but he's going to start, you guess. Is that you crossing off forgetting Bradley was suspended?
You know what? I knew he was suspended and wrote down a team before we came on air and put him back in it. So that is middle-aged, senile tendencies there kicking in. But yes.
Kerkez
at left back.
Robertson, yeah. I mean, Robertson played well the other night, but feels like it could be a decent one for Kerkez. This diamond formation maybe offers him a chance to get forward in wider areas because there is no left winger in the team. Canate and Van Dijk.
So I've taken Bradley out because he can't play. I'll put Joe Gomez back in, who I did agree was pretty solid and does look like he's offering Canate a bit of security. The only reason I was going to take him out actually was just because I thought Liverpool needs to be more on the front foot at home. But you can't be on the front foot with a suspended player, Paul. No. So I'll go with Gomez, Canate, Van Dijk, and I'm going to keep Andy Robbo in because I don't want to make too many changes at the back. Let's look at midfield then. So it's kind of sort of changing the shape a bit from what we're used to here now. If you go with a diamond, or are we still treating the tip of that diamond as an attack? I'm going to say that we are. So on that basis, what three would you have in midfield?
I thought it worked because the four that he picked were central midfielders, weren't they? Szoboszlai has done the number 10 position, certainly last season, but it's not like you're sort of allowing a bit of a maverick, the creative freedom not to do a whole lot of defensive work. So that's why I thought it worked on Tuesday night. This one's a bit different. Liverpool at home, like I say, the attacking onus is on them. So I'm going to put Wirtz in there at the top of it. He's going to have to start getting a run the team, and that is his best position for me. So in he goes, and then the three sort of behind him, I'm going to go with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, and I'm keeping Curtis in there because I thought he was excellent the other night.
So you take McAllister out. So even though I want to play him, I've left Wirtz out.
Right. Don't want to play him that much then.
That's quite clear, isn't it? And I can't even play Bradley, and now it's actually making me want to put Wirtz back in now, the fact that I can't play Bradley. But the only reason I left him out was due to Liverpool getting a result against Inter with a solid shape, and that is not very inspiring for playing at home to Brighton. I'm fully aware of that. But but I almost feel like Liverpool may need to sort of just graft the way to a 1-0 win in this game, or at least get themselves in front, do a lot of defending, and then perhaps get another one on the break. That's kind of where I'm at with this, unfortunately, at the moment. So I've got a 3 in the middle of Gravenberch, McAllister, and Jones, and then I'll explain my forward line. Well, in fact, I'll just go straight into it. Eh?
Go
on. So I'm playing Szoboszlai on the right, Isak through the middle, and Ekitike on the left. And that is my take on it. Don't mind it,
yeah. It's not a bad shout. I mean, we haven't seen much of Ekitike off the left, have we really? Certainly from the start. I don't mind it. I mean, either way, Ekitike and Isak are starting, aren't they? So they're going to have to build up a little bit of a partnership. I'd love to pick the brains of, an Andy Cole, or someone who had a flourishing partnership with another striker, because you don't really get it much anymore, do you? An old school front two. So
there's not many, is there?
No,
I'm trying to think of one.
Every team has like their main man up front, don't they? And look at someone like City. If Haaland doesn't play, who's dropping into that number 9 role without him? It's. I mean, Liverpool have got 2 very good options, but when they're together, we haven't seen a lot of it, and now we're going to have to see some signs of a potentially fearsome partnership.
So, just to be clear, then you've got Reverts, and you've picked Isak. Ekitike up front, haven't you? Yeah. Just to clarify that.
It's that diamond, yeah.
I got a little bit too self-absorbed in my own team formation.
You're wondering why Bradley's suspended.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry, Connor, you'll have to sit this one out, mate. Joe's back in. Who, if he scores on Saturday, I'll do the next Blood Red podcast in a Father Christmas beard. I'm
glad you said that. I was wondering where that was going. It was like Gary Lineker-esque when Leicester win the league.
Do you know what? I wasn't too sure myself. Well, I don't know. You're the producer. Ian, you tell us when the next one's going to be. But if it's a commitment. If Joe Gomez scores on Saturday,
there you go.
I'll be in full Santa Claus regala. For the Paul's on Monday. Okay, does that mean I've got to come in? Well, we'll see the result first. We'll decide if I'm coming in then. Not the only selection you need to make today, Paul. What about your Christmas dinner?
Oh, I can't remember what I've gone for now. You've gone with the pork belly bites.
I've gone with the
sticky
pork
toffee
belly.
for me dessert.
Oof, big.
I can't remember what I've got for me main now.
Well, I think is the pork belly not your main?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Well, I can't remember what I've got for me starter.
I've got the duck pate to start with.
Yeah,
the
lovely.
pork belly. About belly. I've got a little bit of continental there, right? Pork belly. Pork belly, as we'd say around here. And I can't remember when I went for a dessert. Something sweet.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be nice.
All washed down with a small scotch to fend off the cold.
Small scotch, yeah.
Well, we'll be joined by some of our esteemed colleagues for that later. I'm looking forward to it, Paul. But that does almost bring us to the end of this podcast. Just a couple of points to make. First of all, if you're placing an order with any fine dining establishment across Liverpool or the Christmas period, you might want to do it over a secure messaging service or a secure internet platform. We'd recommend NordVPN, of course. This is the latest I've ever mentioned them in a podcast. But to get the best discounts off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred, and our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And the link is in the podcast episode description box below. Finally, from me, Paul, what is your prediction for the game against Brighton?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see Liverpool come out on the front foot, bit of intensity and, a real intent to attack. But I've seen too many meandering first halves this season to think that will change. So I'll take 1-0 now.
I've picked a team to win 1-0. So I'd be a fool if I didn't predict it. And hopefully this one comes off because my last 2 predictions haven't been great.
Joe Gomez getting the winner.
Joe Gomez getting the winner off a dubious handball flick on from someone, which VAR has missed, and he's rattled it home with his right peg. I can see it already. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and then you're doing your next pod in the Father Christmas.
The Father Christmas outfit, yeah. Apparently, I'll believe it when I see it. Gorst, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us. I've been your host, Richard Garnett. Thanks for joining us on the Blood Red podcast. Have a good weekend.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.